Oh, am I a little bit late to the party? Oh well. Better late than never, right? I'm alright. I'm probably wrong. Paradox are those developers that I would say most of the time have a 100% clean record, at least in the past decade or so, with their games that they're just so incredibly well made and have their own unique style. They are known for their, let's say, complicated nature, but also in-depth and intricate details of each different era that they visit. From Crusader Kings to Europa Universalis, from Stellaris to Hearts of Iron, they are going into a new era now. This is Imperator Rome. Now, of course, Imperator Rome is the newest grand strategy title from the Paradox guys. It's set in the early stages of Rome, in the first stages of its growing empire. Now, because of the time setting, there's going to be a few different goals and things that you're going to have to be looking out for rather than the other games that you might have played from the Paradox guys. There'll be a lot of keeping faith with your gods throughout the time, keeping an eye out for treachery, as we do know that this is something that's happened quite a few times. Rest in peace, Julius Caesar, and manage your population, of course, like you would normally think. Now, on the Steam page, they have stated some of the main features that are included in Imperator Rome. First off, character management. There's a whole living world that is being created inside this game, and each character will have their own style and skills that you'll have to play as, but these will also adapt over time. Now, not only do you have to adapt your character of what skills they have compared to another character, but you'll also have to change with them as their skills and traits established throughout your game. You'll have to govern different provinces and command your armies and fleet, and of course, there's a new thing that they like to call more human-like character art, which I guess is just nicer looking characters, but there's very little information on that point, of course. My god, I love Rome. Rome's so cool. Like, imagine being a Roman. You could literally be a Roman. Wow. Fascinating. Now, of course, each population will have its own culture and religion, and you have to decide whether you want to push things like religion, economy, and all those good things that you know that happen in these strategy games from Paradox. Of course, you'll have to be keeping an eye out for happiness, how your population is actually responding to you, whether you put more money into the entertainment side with colosseums going out, or you want to fill up your armies, taking over different territories for resources, of course. Now, of course, talking about taking over different territories and expanding the empire, this is set to the early stages of the Roman Empire, so there'll be a lot of expanding to do. That's what she said. But of course, this is Rome. You're going to be playing as Rome, known for the Roman war machine, having their specialized tactics, shield walls, testudo, column derangements, all the different tactics and styles from this era, and these battle troops are going to have to be learnt by you, and you're going to have to decide how you go about these battles, how you approach the battles with your different strategies and tactics going into them, able to destroy your foes, many of which will be using very different strategies to you. For example, guerrilla warfare wasn't really something that the Romans needed to do that much, since in open plains they were the masters. They would destroy any enemy that came up towards them, and that's why people like the Germanians and the Britons used this to their advantage in order to destroy these Roman armies, for example at the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, or even the legend of the 9th Legion, which was supposedly lost in Britain, of course, which was probably using these guerrilla tactics. Now, not only do you have to decide on tactics, how you're going to fight these battles, but all the traditions that you would normally use for military to keep your soldiers happy and to keep your empire growing. Each culture will have its different unique way of waging war. Like I said, with things like on-plane battlefields, testudos, different formations, gaining sieges, forts and all that good stuff, or guerrilla warfare, hiding in the shadows on picking different units off at a time. But all these different tactics and styles will have its own unlocks and unique bonuses that can be unlocked over time, and each ability and unit will progress throughout your gameplay in Imperator Rome. Moving on, about some of the government that you're going to have to control, because we know that Paradox Games is very heavily centered towards the economy, the government, and how you actually manage these places, and not just the battles, of course. You'll have to manage the Senate of Rome. It will be in a republic. Emperors haven't come along just yet. Maybe it's going to expand into that. I don't know what the time scale is. We know it starts around 300 BC, but where it ends off, that's only for us to find out later on down the line. You're going to have to make sure your Senate are happy, because they are the ones that rule Rome at this moment in time. It does say that you'll also have to hold your court together in a monarchy, so it's going on to some of the Roman kings. Will you be a tyrant like the Roman king Tarquinius, I think his name is, or will you be a more fair king in this time, managing your whole economy as well, and also making relations with the provinces that you take over, such as bartering with clans, democracy, and all those things to make sure that you keep your empire in a solid state. And talking about keeping your empire in a solid state, the next point is about rebellions. Barbarians are going to be a massive problem. They're going to be sacking and settling in your land. They're going to be destroying some of your houses, your forts, even some of your cities if you're not careful, if you're not keeping them under your command. You have to manage them in such a way where you're fair but also intimidating, so you keep them under your wing and they don't push away. This is not just happening with the barbarians and the places you take over. You'll also have to watch out with your governors and your generals. Of course, they can turn against you, and they can of course take their armies with them, which unfortunately is why the emperors came to be about. Julius Caesar's men were loyal to him and not Rome, and he eventually used that to his advantage and marched the first army into Rome itself. Coming off of some of the more intense things, settling down a bit with trade, about goods and provinces, you'll have to expand your trade routes as you expand your empire, of course, but you'll have to take advantage of different stockpiles and local strengths and trade excess goods to spread the wealth around. So this means that each place you take over, of course, is going to have its own strengths and weaknesses in terms of trade. Some things might have more luxuries and some things might have more raw necessities, and whether you spread them around or keep them around one place is going to be your options here. Make sure you keep your wealth in one place, or do you want to make sure you're keeping people happy and spreading this around? And finally, talking about wealth and trade and spreading things around, that's what she said, is the Provincial Improvement, investing in buildings, roads and defences, making your kingdom stronger and of course richer. Now, finding up a bit more information on what people have said about the game so far, it seems like Imperator Rome is going to be a bit more like the Europa Universalis type Paradox games rather than the Crusader Kings 2 type Paradox games. And this is because it offers a less personal approach to politics, but factors such as popularity, prominence and public opinion have to be balanced as well. Whereas Crusader Kings 2 was very much your kingdoms, your kings, who you married off to, whether you wanted to have incest, because, you know, who doesn't these days? Wait, what's the date? 2018? Nah, incest is still fine. Whereas I feel like Imperator Rome is going to be, of course, a more empire-wide thing, so you're going to have to keep the larger picture in mind rather than the intricate details of your families. Military options will also let you manage and discipline the morale of troops and unlock traditions based on the types of troops you rule as well, which is a nice little touch. And I feel like it's going to be, I don't know, it's definitely a Paradox game. Looking at screenshots and everything that we've got so far, it is really just a Paradox game that is expanded on massively in terms of the time period and different small features that they're adding. So if you're familiar with Paradox games, if you played a lot of them, this is going to be a game that you're going to know. It's not going to feel like you're jumping out into the wilderness, of course. Paradox make great games, but they are Paradox games. They're very distinctive towards this developer, and I think Imperator Rome looks like it's going to be the same. I might just add up my word, that map looks absolutely awesome. I can't wait. It looks like it's expanding definitely around Europe, as you might expect, some in North Africa in there, and Asia, of course, so you're going to be able to go around these places. Democracy taking over, just stabbing the children, making kebabs out of them. Who knows? Who knows? But they're looking hopefully towards a release in early 2019. They've said almost definitely it's going to be the first half of 2019, so even if it's not straight away, we do know it's not going to be too long away. Oh, I say that, it's still May, so we're going to get it in early 2019, so don't you worry if you guys are Paradox fans. What do you guys want to most see about in this game, Imperator Rome, though? Are there any features that haven't been mentioned that you would like to have in the game? Make sure you leave them down in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure you go and follow my Instagram page where I'm posting. It's kind of getting a bit insane at this moment. I think just go and look at my Instagram page, and also Twitch. I'm streaming on there at the moment, probably not currently while you're watching this video, or who knows, maybe it is. Go and click the link in the description and you'll see. And one thing I really wanted to say, because I haven't said this for a long time, if you want to support the channel further, there's always links in the description to Games Planet where you can get really good deals on Steam games. It's none of the scummy stuff. It's a completely trusted, and they work with the developers. The developers get their own profit, as when some of these websites, the developers get nothing from it. But if you click that link and buy games off there, you get some great discounts, and I get a tiny bit of a kickback as well. So that's a really nice thing if you want to support the channel. And of course, I do have a Patreon, which is absolutely amazingly appreciated if you go and donate on there, and you get special roles on my Discords and things. But thank you guys for watching, and until then, I will see you in the next one.